So for a bit of time, I've been kind of frustrated while I'm watching TV to just get all this TV dialogue that feels really over-explaining. Like something will happen, and then the characters in the show will just explain to you the thing that you just saw happen on television. So we had Kathryn VanArendonk, who's a TV critic at Vulture, and also Anthony Q. Farrell, who's a TV writer. And we had this conversation about how TV dialogue right now is changing. And they both were kind of like, listen, you gotta accept at a certain point that TV is a second screen experience for a lot of people. People are watching their shows while also maybe being a little bit on their phones, and that's how TV writers are kind of responding. I'm not sure it's good for the health of the medium. I really enjoyed this conversation. I hope that you do too. Hello, both of you. How's it going?
Hello.
Hello.
I'm delighted that you're both here. I gotta tell you, you're both wonderful, and I trust you to write wonderful dialogue. That's not the problem. The problem is this conversation was inspired by this guy's take on Instagram, and I just want to play you a real quick clip of what he had to say.
Shows and movies today have a problem with dialogue that is way too wordy and trying way too hard to sound smart. Listen to what I got from the lady in cabin 10 last night.
How was your trip back? Why, the second of my 4-hour flights on an 8-seater turboprop plane was only 1 day delayed. So, I loved every minute of it. Do I detect the brittle sarcasm of the severely jet-lagged, or is the malaise something deeper?
You have got to be kidding me.
Do I detect the brittle sarcasm of the severely jet-lagged? Or is that something deep? Is the malaise something deeper? That is just a taste of that dialogue from that Netflix show, The Woman in Cabin 10. So this guy, he shared this clip. His Instagram handle is Rate and See Movies. And he just says, you know what? There's just a little bit too much talking like this on TV. And there's so much dialogue that just kind of like sound like the kid in your drama class who wears a beret. Kathryn, what do you think? Does this feel true to you?
Nope. This is ahistorical nonsense.
Okay.
And it's always interesting to me to hear people talk about dialogue and like what people sound like and whether this sounds human or not, right? In part because I think it is a really interesting reflection of style. It's taste. It is like I like when things sound like this. I don't like when things sound like that. But I think it was telling to me that particular Instagram video was telling to me for a couple of reasons. One is that he doesn't list other examples of this thing that is happening apparently rampantly on Netflix. And then the other one is he has lots of other examples that he could list. There are two of the most famous TV showrunners like in history, Aaron Sorkin and Amy Sherman Palladino, who are notable for exactly this kind of dialogue and who are not at all a part of a Netflix generation. And so it is, to me, this is a person's response to a taste that they don't particularly, or a style that they don't particularly like, but is very much not reflective of my own personal bugbears about dialogue on TV.
First of all, you mentioned Aaron Sorkin. I got to tell you the thing that makes most people go, Elamin, what are you doing with your life? Which is when I'm writing, I often write to Aaron Sorkin dialogue because I actually find it quite musical in a sense. And like, I will put on episodes of The West Wing and go like, oh, this sounds like very comforting kind of pitter patter, but there is a rhythm. There's a delicate rhythm to the way that Aaron Sorkin writes that I find really comforting. Also, you mentioned Amy Sherman Palladino, so we have to play a little clip, a little moment from Gilmore Girls. Allow me to just grace us with a bit of Amy Sherman Palladino conversation right here.
I'll give you the Danish, but I'm keeping the coffee.
What is a Danish without coffee?
The eternal question springs up again.
There's no point in even eating a Danish without coffee.
I'm going to school.
Sad Danish, lonely Danish, step Danish.
I'll see you tonight.
I'm always in favor of. I think the thing that we heard in The Woman in Cabin 10 is something a little different that to me sounds like it's trying to be in conversation with how those people talk, but not quite hitting it. Q, does that kind of dialogue sound insufferable to you? Like, do you hear it and go, I got a bit of problem with this?
Listen, I'm drinking from my Shakespeare cup right now. These are
screenwriter behavior. I love to see it.
All the Shakespearean cusses. You lump of foul deformity. Like, listen, this is not new. We can be loquacious. We can be verbose. Some people like writing like that. This is what it. And I'll tell you honestly, like with what's happening what's happening a lot with TV is we know that people like the TV is the second screen. The TV is the second screen. People are on their phones while they're watching TV. So I know people who have gotten the notes. Listen, you got to make this easier to follow because people aren't going to be watching it. So when you get notes like that, and if you're a TV show writer who doesn't have any confidence in yourself and you're just trying to make a TV show that your network is going to put on the air, you're going to change things. You're going to add things. You're going to do things that that create, I guess for me, what I think is weaker dialogue. But it's just kind of, again, we're getting to a place where you are saying and not showing because you're worried that people aren't watching the actual screen. So
Okay.
this is, and it's a part and parcel of all that.
That's the thing that drives me crazy. That's the thing that drives me the most crazy when I'm watching a TV show is when I'm watching something and then the TV characters tell me the thing that I just saw 1 second ago. And I think like the worst example of this is Stranger Things, and a lot of moments in that show that actually do that. But I just want to play you really quickly a clip from Stranger Things.
So all this time, Vecna's been hiding in the sky?
Explains why every crawl led to a dead end. And why I can't find him in the bath.
My Holly fell from the damn sky.
Yeah, but why is he taking kids up there?
For the same reason he took me.
So all this time, Vecna's been hiding out in the sky. I'm like, yeah, dude, if you've been following the show, then you're familiar with the fact that this has been a presence in all of their lives and is kind of operating this way. So there's
To be fair, it's been 10 years since the last episode.
but the problem that you're pointing out, Anthony, is this spoon feeding, right? Like the idea of like, oh, I looked at my phone for 10 seconds and then I looked up and then now they're explaining to me the things that just happened in the 10 seconds I looked at my phone. And that's deeply frustrating. Why is this happening? Catherine, I'll get your view on this point in just a moment. But Key, why is this happening?
It's a response to what we are human beings. We are on our phones all the time. There are people who are doing this, and so it's a response to how people are watching TV. I don't think it's like I don't think the episodes changed. People were like, well, everything's a little bit easier to follow now, so I'm going to start using my phone while I'm watching TV. I think people are just like connected to their first screen, which is in their hand, and they're watching TV while they're playing Boggle, and it's it's what it is now. So we're going to get into this a little bit more later, but that's why you're starting to see TV change. You're starting to see more showrunners use different languages. So you have to look at the screen when you're listening to someone else, and you have to read what's happening. You're starting to see more like I love me some Clown School. So you're starting to see more physicality as opposed to using dialogue to set the stage, right? So that's one of the ways that people are combating that.
Kathryn, for you, TV is sacred. For other people, TV can sometimes be a second screen experience. What impact do you think that has on storytelling, on people who just want to tell stories using this medium?
I think I am seeing exactly the same stuff that Anthony is talking about. This idea that you could reliably expect somebody to sit in front of 45 minutes to an hour of television and have them be looking at the screen even 80% of the time feels like it is this bygone moment of what television used to be and is not anymore. And so even things like physicality, I find you will see something happen on screen and then somebody will hand someone the secret code to something, or like you'll see a character in the background and then 40 seconds later, somebody will be like, we all saw the code on the paper, right? And you're like, yeah, we all saw the code on the paper, but just in case we didn't, I guess we're going to talk about it. Or I was actually watching the upcoming season of The Night Manager, a show which I like very much and which I had to pay quite a lot of attention to in 2016 because it's got very complicated spies and Tom Hiddleston has like 17 different aliases and I don't really know, it's like you really have to be invested in it. And within the first episode of season 2, there is a line of dialogue that's important for characterization. And then 15 minutes later, they play the line of dialogue again while Tom Hiddleston stands there remembering that we all just heard that. And I was like, okay, things are changing.
But the thing that you're describing, first of all, I subtly have become my parents, right? Like this idea of like 20 years ago, they're like, kids can't even pay attention to a book anymore. And I'm like, kids can't even pay attention to a television show anymore. Like what is happening? That seems like a real real worrisome Rubicon across. That's one. And then two, Q, for sure talking about these two different kinds of dialogue being called out. One is like, yeah, you're kind of dumbing things down a little bit too much. And then the other one is like, that people don't talk like that. There's a lot of people who blame my generation for this, like the blame millennials for the proliferation of this. Where do you fall on this, Q? Does that feel true to you?
What did Mary J say about hateration? Don't need no.
That's true. That's the holy
we
text.
Don't need, like, it's like, why do we go through this thing where we're just always trying to divide each other, and it's not fashionable anymore to divide each other using stereotypes of cultures and races. So now they're like, you know what? I'm a stereotype of generation now, and I can go in on that. I've seen 6-month-old betas like rolling their eyes at alphas, like, oh, such alpha behavior. Like, you're 6 months old, okay? Just chill out.
You just got here. Yes.
I don't know why we're dividing. It's not a millennial thing. Like, there are. I write with people from boomers, Zs, millennials. I'm a Gen X myself. Like, it has nothing to do with what generation. It has to do with your skill. It has to do with how much work you've put in. It has to do with what you're, just like what Kathryn was saying, like what taste you have, like what you, and also if Aaron Sorkin writes all the characters like Aaron Sorkin, but a lot of other writers try to make their characters distinct.
Yes.
Wow, shade, Elamin.
Wow.
Shade.
The shade received. Shade received. Thank you.
Am I wrong?
You're not wrong. No, I would never deny that.
It works. It works for him. I'm not saying that. Yeah. I listen. We all love those things. It works for him.
Yeah.
He's not going to write a story about a steel mill in Pittsburgh.
No, every character in an Aaron Sorkin show is a Horcrux of Aaron Sorkin. That's how it's supposed to work.
And it works, and it's totally fine. But when you're writing characters, you want them to be different. Like they should sound like there should be a character that talks like a Keira Knightley in in Cabin in the Woods. You can have one of those. But if they're all like that, then it's a problem, I think.
Well, I will say, Kathryn, that you were on this show talking about Pluribus not too long ago, and then you talked about how when you get to episode 7, your mind will be blown. And I got to episode 7, and my mind was blown, but there was almost no dialogue in episode 7.
Yes.
I mean, this was an episode that I could feel my attention faculties going, oh no, you got to get back to the screen, because there was no dialogue happening. And so my eyes couldn't drift away. I didn't have that as an option. And that felt to me like, oh, that's the antidote to this thing, is actually making TV shows that are worth watching. They're like, hey, please come, but we are going to demand a little more from you than you're used to. And that feels like a rare thing increasingly. Am I wrong in that?
I do not think that you are wrong in that, but I do think that there are very few people in television who have the power to do something like that and are able to then get those budgets and have an executive not sit down and be like, we can't make this. Nobody is talking and no one will be able to follow what is happening, right? Vince Gilligan is in an upper echelon of showrunners who have that kind of blank check to be able to sit down and be like, and then it's almost even the dialogue you do get, it's not going to be in English, and they're tearing their hair out, and so it actually reminds me a little bit of the argument that is happening all the time about kids and screens. Like, privileged parents are the ones who are taking screens away from their kids, whereas the kids in school districts that have less money, it's just be on your Chromebooks all the time. There are only a few showrunners who have the ability to be like, I will force you to watch this. And it feels like the Netflix, the kind of every person's streaming service, is like, yeah, we're going to tell you what's going on all the time. And
it's it's just so constant that it's, you know what? It feels like my brain is getting a massage. I'm like, oh, I don't have to do anything. I don't have to, if for 1 second I drift and my attention looks out the window or to my phone, I just look up and go, oh, I didn't miss anything because I'm going to be told exactly everything that just happened. I got to say, I'm grateful for both of you for this conversation. I'm going to continue to go, Aaron Sorkin, that's my man's. But that's a conversation for another day. Thank you, both of you, for being on the show today. Thanks, y'all.
Bye.
Yeah, good talk to you. Thank you. Kathryn VanArendonk is a critic at Vulture. She's in New Jersey. And Anthony Q. Farrell is a screenwriter and showrunner. He was in Toronto.